What's going on YouTube? It's your host Colton here, and today we dive back into the confirmation checklist series, video number 6, which is going to be going over time of day and how to properly place yourself inside of these 24-hour markets. We'll also be touching on other stock classes, asset classes, but remember that wealth is the transfer from the impatient to the patient. So all these confirmations we've been going over in this series is to allow you all to be patient in your setups and to wait for the market to come to you, right? That's what we need to do. We need to seek what the institutions are doing behind the scenes. So remember, stick around. We are going to be going over the basic trading times. And as an intraday trader, what are the most secure couple hours, maybe 15-minute time frames that you could dive into the markets and really be a part of the big move going on. Beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and start out with the Forex market. Right now, there's 4 main sessions that you need to understand that are happening while you're inside of the 24-hour Forex market. And I'm going to flash them up over here. So technically, the market day starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, and this is when Sydney market opens. Now, Sydney market, this is over in Australia, so you can think the Australian dollar between 5 p.m. and 2 a.m. is probably going to have most of its volume. And then as you see, next session, Tokyo session, is from 7 p.m. Eastern to 4 a.m. Eastern. Now, a lot of the time, these 2 sessions are referred to as the Asian session and also Asian session consolidation because there's low volume and low liquidity inside of these markets. Now, is there money to be made between 5 p.m. and 2 a.m. on the Australian dollar and the yen? Absolutely. But it's not going to be as liquid as these next 2 sessions that are going to flash up right here. Are obviously 2 bigger ones are London for the pound and the euro when that starts at about 2-3 a.m. up until noontime Eastern. And then as everybody knows, the New York Stock Exchange is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this is the US dollar, the Canadian dollar. So these 2 sessions, London and New York, is where the high volume is going to be inside of the markets. And this is where we really see a lot of the big players go ahead and take part inside of the markets, understanding that the dollar is traded in more than 80% of the world's transactions, right? So New York, especially that overlap of London and New York, is going to be super key to understand. Now, you may be thinking, well, thanks, Colton, for breaking down the basics for me. We went from a 24-hour market down to a 10-hour market, looking at those times between 2 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern time. But now let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into it, right? Where's the secret sauce? Where are the institutions looking to get in during London? Where are the institutions looking to get in during New York? Before we dive deeper into the London and New York market, I definitely don't want to discredit the Asian session, right? The market at the end of the day is fractal. So the things that we see during London and New York on an institutional basis still happen in Asian session. They're just going to be of lesser volume, maybe a 5 to 10 pip move versus a 25 to 50 pip move that happens in New York. So for the people that, have to sleep through the London session and have to work through New York session, right? There's no worries on that. You could still find these setups during Asian. They're just going to be of lesser volume. And that's the power in the markets when you really learn and train your eye to see the skills. So before we dive into the technical side, as a friendly reminder, right, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a random individual here sharing for education and entertainment purposes only what I've been able to find inside of the market. So make sure before you take any live risk that you go ahead and take the proper precautions, the proper confirmations to be able to do so. So let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. Perfect. So if you are excited to receive this information today, go ahead and make sure you leave a like down below. Go ahead and subscribe, even hit the notification bell if you want to be updated on future videos like this. And always remember that it is free to just click that like button and it helps everybody around us. So let's dive into it. Now that we've already cut ourselves into a 10-hour trading window, what are going to be some core London times? What are going to be some core New York times? Now I'm going to touch on the key concepts here, and then we're going to go look at them in the charts. So core London is going to be anywhere between 2 to 5 a.m., right? A 3-hour window. And then for New York, I opened it up to 3.5 hours from 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Now, if you haven't heard this before, it's called the last 15 or the first 15. I don't remember who I heard this from pretty early on in my journey, but basically you either want to look to enter in the last 15 minutes of an hour or the first 15 minutes of an hour, right? Really think about that. And let me say that again. I only want to enter on the last 15 minutes or the first 15 minutes of an hour candle. And why is that? Because when you're looking at an hour candle, you have no idea how that candle is going to close if it's 9:17, 9:22, 9:30, 9:35, 9:42. There's still too much price that could happen, and you're not going to know which bias you want the market to go. But if you wait and enter in those last 15 minutes of an hour or those first 15 minutes of an hour, you could potentially see how that hour candle closes and then enter on those 15-minute candlesticks that surround that hour candle. So this is super, super popular. I love trading like this. I rarely will ever enter a trade if it's between that 15 and 45 time. So, you know, what are core London times? Maybe a 2:15 a.m., maybe a 3:45 a.m., right, for New York, maybe a 7:45, maybe a 9:45, maybe right at 10 o'clock on the dot. You give yourself a half-hour window. So now you've gone from, you know, a 10-hour window to a 5-hour window already, just like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down, and I'm going to show you guys the power between 2 and 5 and the power between 7:30 and 11. Perfect. Okay, so now to properly structure your chart, what you're going to want to do is right click, go down to settings, make sure you're on appearance, and go ahead and turn on your session breaks. This is going to help you identify the 24-hour market prices, right? Here's Monday's 24 candles, Tuesday's 24 candles, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, what I'm going to do is walk through the hour and 15 minutes showing the importance of these 2 to 5 a.m., 7 to 10 a.m. And then afterwards, we will do real life confirmations as to how we would have got into those trades. Because here is just going to focus on a single time of day confirmation. So keep in mind that we have all of our others as we're looking at these charts. Now, orange is Asian session, red is London between 2 and 12, and then blue is New York between 8 and 5. So what do you see on these charts, right? We have Asian session consolidation area. What happens after Asian session consolidation? You're going to have a London run and a New York run. Asian, London run, New York run. Asian session consolidation, London run, New York run. Asian session consolidation, London run, New York run. So all I'm identifying here is the importance of these 8 to 10 a.m. candles, high volume candles in that overlap, high volume candles in the overlap, high volume candles in the overlap, high volume candles in the overlap. So again, not discrediting the Asian session, but we're looking for the most amount of volume. So let's go ahead and dive into Monday's price action. I'm going to walk you guys through. And again, this is just a single confirmation, but check out the power in this. Monday, Asian session consolidation up to 2 a.m. What happens right at 2 a.m.? We drive lower below a set of lows, make a new low right at 2:15, and market trades higher through London session. So I'm going to identify that as a red box. So London session, rerun higher. What happens when we get into core New York, right? This is the 9:45 candle. So is it a coincidence that the 9:45 candle happened to be the reversal candle, right? And this is the trade that you guys see live from my last video, right? We were playing off of this 15-minute structure over here. So again, more confirmations to come, but just showing you, hey, look, 9:45 reversal candle, right? What happens our next day? We have Asian session consolidation in the orange, right? What happens during London, right? We get a 2:15 drive up and a 3:15 drive up, right? We drive up, drive low. Overall, we got these tests here, and London was a bullish market taking the previous day's high, right? Showing you key times, right? 3 o'clock, 3:15. What times are up here? Look, 7:15, 8:15, right? Look at these candles that went ahead and showed the early New York bias to the downside. But then what happens right here at 11 o'clock, right? That next hour between that 45 and that 15, we get our New York bullish momentum as well. What happens on Wednesday? Asian session consolidation, maybe evidence of new highs. What do we do right here at 3 o'clock and 3:15? We make our lows. And then what do we do for London? We drive higher, right? Let's look at core New York structure. What happens here? Is this high at 10:45 a coincidence? No, right? Where's this wick? This wick at 2 o'clock on the dot, is it a coincidence? No, it's within that half hour of the times that we want to be entering the markets, right? We could see that bearish bias for New York to the downside, right? Thursday will be our last one, right? What do we get? a decent, Asian session move, but overall, right, that's not where most of the volume is. What happens during London, right? 2 o'clock, 2:15, drive down, 2:15. If you buy this up over the Asian session high, this is pretty much your London buy move. And then what do we see happen? In the switchover, market drives all the way down. And then what? At 9:15, we get that last little push low before the New York run up. So that was purely just to show how the volume works in the markets, right? You need to understand that these overlaps is where all of these volumes are getting into play. And as I will show you all how to make money based on our schematics in Asian session, what you really want to focus on is 2 to 5 a.m. and your 7:30 to 11 a.m. These are going to be the majority of your moves. Perfect. So now let me show you guys an exact trade example from this week that you could have taken advantage of, especially if you were following along with what I was talking about in the Telegram. So we're going to focus on Wednesday's price action, right? Wednesday's price action. Now, other than time of day, what were we looking for on Wednesday? Right when the market was in this Asian session consolidation, I had said, hey, GBP is looking bullish. Let's look for bullish prices near 1.3 thousand. Why near 1.3 thousand? Because we have recent highs over here on the left with this imbalance here, right? And then what whole level do we have around all of this? We have that whole level of that major whole level of 1.3 thousand. So what happens on Wednesday, right? During Asian session, I said, hey, look for bullish momentum. Let's see if we can play anywhere off of 3,000. What do we get during London, right? London opens. We hang out, 245, 315, 330. So right here at 315, right, we made our lowest price. We came down here and then we bolted up through London. Now that's cool. You don't have to catch that. You're not always going to catch that. What happens during New York? What do? We make equal highs here, right at, 8:45, 9, 9:15, 9:30. If nothing's clear, then nothing's clear. But then what happens here? You wait till 10:45, 11, 11:15, right? And we knew that we had FOMC coming up on Wednesday, right? So there wasn't really going to be, this makes sense as to why they consolidated in New York, because they had the major news coming out right here at 2 o'clock. But what happens? This 30-minute window that I just gave you guys, we played perfectly off of 3,000. Y'all saw it in the chat. What did we do? Drive low at FOMC. We retest that 3,000 level and ultimately trade down through the 50 level, right? 50 plus pips. So showing you guys the power of these times right here. Perfect. So now before we move out of this London and New York session overlap, let me go ahead and just show another couple major pairs so you guys can really see that these time frames, right? The reason why we're looking at this last 15 and first 15 is because this is where the institutions like to play the game. This is where the majority of the volume is getting into the markets. So if you could train yourself to not only have all these other confirmations, but to only enter within this half an hour time frame, that 99% of the time is where you're going to find the institutional candles. It's going to take your trading to the whole next level, and you're going to understand how to structure your 24-hour market. So overall, UCAD, right, we had this consolidation area. FOMC brought us below some lows to trade into a high at the 50% here. And then we ended up back into the consolidation. But what we're going to do is go to the 15-minute time frame all the way back from Monday and watch what time these institutional candles happen, and just to show y'all the power in it, right? So Asian session, where's the low? 3 o'clock, 3:15, right? Where's the high? 5:45. Slow New York on Monday. We go into Tuesday. Where's the low? 2:15. Run high, right? 4:15. Look at these lows. 6:45, 8 o'clock, 9:15. Buy the market up. Where do you close out? 11:45 if you hold it that long, right? Asian session, where's our low? So Asian session, here's the 2 o'clock up candle to run the lows. This high candle, 10:15, but overall slower New York because of FOMC going on right here, right? Look for your institutional candles. What time did this happen? 2:15 makes sense. 7:45 makes sense. 9:45, right? 9:30, 9:45 makes sense, right? Going to Friday, even a slower Friday, 2:45, 3 o'clock, right? So I don't think I really need to go over other major pairs. You guys are going to see this even if you're looking at something like AUD USD, right? Even on Friday, look at this up candle, 7:15. Look at this down structure between 8 o'clock and 8:15, 9:45, 10 o'clock. 9:45 is a key time, right? And we're going to touch on that with the indices. So really think about what we've just walked through, right? We've taken a 24-hour market, knocked it down to a 10-hour time frame. We went ahead and cut that down to a 2 to 5 and an 8 to 11, so a 6-hour time frame, right? And then we also cut that in half because we're not entering between those times of 15 and 45. So I've basically given you guys 3 hours worth of time frames that if you truly want to get in where the institutions and the big ballers are looking to get in, you're going to be able to properly place yourself. Now, this is what I've learned when it comes to the Forex markets, right? That first 15, last 15. Now, when it comes to indices, the same principles are still going to apply, except there's one key difference. When we're talking NASDAQ, when we're talking the Dow Jones, when we're talking S&P 500, right? The market opens up at 9:30 a.m. Eastern and trades until the 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. If I haven't noted this yet, but I keep my time zone in UTC -4. I'm down here in Florida, which is the same time as New York. But your time for indexes are going to be 9:30 to 4 o'clock. Now, what I really love about this 9:30 open price is you get to allow price to trade for 15 minutes before even thinking about trying to get in something, right? Wait for that 9:45 to 10:15 range. Now, price, we see this very beautifully when we talk volume, when it comes to the NASDAQ 100, right? What is this? Asian session consolidation, New York volume, right? Asian session, very small candles, right? 9 a.m. New York volume, right? Asian session, small candles, right? New York, 9 a.m. volume, right? So you see that happen on the NASDAQ. Now, what I'm going to walk through on a 15-minute chart is the S&P because I already have a couple things marked up for you guys. So we're going to go back to Monday, right? Just showing the importance of these times in price so you could look for the same things going into this week. So again, as noted, just like on GBP USD, we have the Asian, London, New York. All right, I was actually walking through this with a student earlier. So what do we get? We get Asian session mark up, right? Asian session mark up all the way until London session. Now in London, what did we do? We created highs and we dropped down. Now I was showing this as an early New York setup. Market came into this imbalance, 33.66. A lot of other confirmations, again, not time and price. But where was the correct time? This one I'm going to show you guys. Like, yes, you could deal with all this depending on how you were a trader. But look at the 9:30 candle, right? This is literally your 9:30 candle. Now, even if, maybe you don't catch this one, to be honest, because it took off. But again, let this 9:30 candle play out. Then we can wait for any retracements back in. If you enter at 9:45, right, you catch that run. Or if you wait for the pullback, right, there's even a small pullback here or the pullback here. This would have been that 3:15, right, that 2 to 4 time where you're going to see the next jolt of volume inside of the market. So this was just showing like multiple buy positions you could have taken, right? If you're up at 8 o'clock, maybe you took it here. And if you stayed in it at 9:30, you would have stayed true to your analysis. So that's just showing, right, time and price, right? Let all this do its work. You see very clean bullish price action. And then 9:30, we get that confirmation right at 9:45. You could take that up, right? Look at the next day. Asian session consolidation up until 9:15, right? We had a slower New York session this day, right? Market just kind of hangs out, doesn't do a whole lot, right? If you got in a position, you're either closing out in a little bit of profit, break even, you're holding it right here at 1:15 up until 2 o'clock, right? You saw that overall bearishness happen in the markets that didn't happen in New York. You go to Wednesday, right? Asian session movement, 9:35, 9:45 don't show a whole lot. You're waiting, like, right? There's a lot of other confirmations inside of the market, but overall, what is this? 10:45 rolls around, right? That looked like a nice buy position, right? What do? We pull back right at 1:30 and then take it even higher. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the Dow Jones or US 30. just to show some of this week's price action because we had a very clean, right? Let me show you guys everything on the hour here. But overall this week, right, we had beautiful what we want to look for, right? 14th, what did we do? We trend up for 2 days. We created, right, a nice little pool of money here that also existed in the past, right? At Wednesday at FOMC, we got that run above, and this started that downtrend for the week as a midweek reversal right at 2 o'clock. So beautiful price action. As you see again, Asian session, low volume, 9 o'clock hits, right? Here's your 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock candle hits, right? 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock candle hits. And then inside of here was very, very clean. So let's look at some 15-minute price action. Again, I'm doing this just to help you all. Like, this is what I see in the markets, right? You guys are able to watch along as I see it play out. Not as much as the indexes of late, but I will be dropping more and more charts, as we go. But again, right, what do we see? Overall market trends up through Asian, right? This is even, early London. And then what do we get right here? 9:15, 9:30, right? That same evidence that we saw on S&P happened here, right? It's going to be the same thing. So let's just talk about, maybe an entry like this, like 9:30 opens, 9:45 trades up. We're making higher prices. When we come back into here, right? Again, it's in that half an hour time frame. It's right here at a 10:45 candle. Trade that up, trade it up one more time. Now you see that evidence of a low, right? Where does the market top out at 2:30? Look to get out of any positions. It might be making tops. So outside of that, if you are still here with us, I greatly appreciate you. I hope the last 20 minutes has given you a better insight to time and price and how to effectively enter the markets at the times that the institutions and the big players may be pushing in the most volume, right? Stopping out the majority and allowing us to be able to play behind their move and just follow along their pattern because we've been able to train our eyes to have the same confirmations that they do. So remember, this is confirmation number 6 in this series. Next video is going to be Fibonacci retracements. They're not magical. They line up with everything else that you see taught inside of this channel. It's just going to give you another confirmation, another fun thing to look at. But always remember, right, starting with number 1, market structure, understanding where your market's at on the monthly and the weekly. Then you go to your trend analysis. Maybe you're in a bullish market structure, but you're in a bearish pullback. In that bearish pullback, look for imbalances, look for liquidity, look for point of interest candles. And if the market decides to come down and reaccumulate at the right time inside of key areas, then you could potentially go ahead and position yourself and be able to effectively read these markets with no indicators, all strictly price action and understanding the algorithms that play behind price. So make sure you tune in to the next video. I appreciate y'all for being here. Let's go ahead and continue to live bullish, and let's have a great trading week.